Good evening, everybody. We're so fortunate tonight to have Andy Garcia with us. Andy was born in Cuba, and in 1961, he and his family were forced to flee their home to come to the United States. He grew up in Miami. He was quite an athlete, and at some point in time in sort of that youthful period, he got mononucleosis. And during that time, it made him kind of take a shift away from athletics and more towards acting. If ever there was a silver lining in somebody getting a little bit sick, that was it. He was gone on to become an incredible actor, real force of nature when it comes to American film. So please give a warm welcome to our guest tonight, Mr. Andy Garcia. Thank you. Did I get that story right? That's what it says on all the the interviews that I read. Is that true?
It's pretty accurate. It's
Yeah.
pretty accurate. Yeah. It happened. That's what happened basically.
Yeah. Do you have much of a recollection of the time in Cuba? You were only 5, right, when your family had to
No,
leave?
I have a lot of recollections, especially because I think as an exile, when you're forced to leave a country like that and never return, those memories that we would normally, I think, in a normal situation, maybe let go. Those are sort of, I think, protected, they become profoundly nostalgic for you, so whatever you remember, you kind of hold on to, and they become vivid and at times, I think, traumatic, in that sense, emotionally. Even though the situation there wasn't a physical trauma, I think it was an emotional one that happens when you're forced into exile.
And do you remember sort of your first impressions when you got to the United States?
Well, we moved to an area of Miami Beach on Collins Avenue, which is about 86th Street, which it has a series of sort of motels for the Northerners to come down and spend the weekends there or a month, vacation, a couple of weeks. And they have these little efficiency sort of motels. They're not very elaborate. There may be 10 units, 8 units, and they're kind of scattered around along Collins Avenue in North Miami Beach area there. And in this case, it was 86th Street, and we stayed in one of those. My uncle was living nearby in another, and we were able to get my father basically some startup money from friends in exile that were right there, just to basically pay the first week's rent, and he went and found work, wherever he could right away. And it was like one bedroom. We slept, the three kids slept in the living room area. My parents slept in the one bedroom. My grandmother was always like 3, 4, 5, 6 of us in this little efficiency it had like a little bit of a wet bar kind of kitchen, small kitchen.
A hot plate or something.
Hot plate kind of kitchen. And we were there for a while, for a long time. But and it never felt for me, there was never any sense of like desperation or bitterness or anything like that in our family. I mean, the reasons why we came was to preserve our freedoms, and our civil liberties, and the alternate ending would have been to stay there and been under a totalitarian type of government, which is still in power, and indoctrination by the state and all that stuff. So the fact that we were there was we were lucky that we got out, so. And it was great. We lived across the beach. Me and my brother would go and pick up bottles, and and then we'd take the bottles to the local grocery store and get money for them. And I was a kid on an adventure. I didn't know the language, so that was a little bit sort of traumatic. And
how did you learn the language? Did you? Was it just picking it up by road, or did you watch? The language of the streets. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
My mother tells the story that she was coming home one time. Now we had moved to another area of Miami. We lived across the street from a park called Crespi Park. And she said that she came home from work with my dad. They used to come home very late at night. There was a typical sort of 6-day weeks, 7 to 8 o'clock at night kind of workload. So they were driving home together, and I was in the park, apparently fighting and arguing with another boy, an American boy. And she turned to my father, who never really learned English very well. My mother was an English teacher in Cuba, so my father was a lawyer and all that, but he never learned English very well. And she says, I wouldn't worry about your son and his English. Look at him arguing with those kids in the park, and I was just like, I had a little bit of a transitional time, you know, it's kind of,
Sure.
I guess, holding my own in a strange environment, you know. So I used to get in a lot of fights. You know, I didn't know what you know. You don't know what they're saying, so just in case. You know,
I didn't like the way that sounded.
You know, can I borrow a pencil?
Yeah.
So, you know. But after a while, I mellowed out. You know, you always mellow out when you come across. I remember there was one kid named Raimundo who became my best friend. But it's the great, almost like stereotypical story where I used to get to school and to exert my position in the hierarchy of the class. I would always butt in the line before, there was like a line you had to line up, So I would go in the front of the line, and all the kids, would kind of respect that because I was a little bit crazy. That was a little crazy, and I'm not proud of it. It's just like I think I was a victim of the situation,
Yeah.
And then, but that day I showed up, and there was this very, very large, twice my size, young Cuban exile in the front of the line who probably showed up for school at 5:00 in the morning or something.
Right.
And so I got in front of him, and he tapped me on the shoulder. He went. And I looked at him, and I didn't care what size they were by then. It was like, get the hell out of here, and this and that. And I said, and then, and he tapped me again. He went like that. And then I don't know, I took a swing. And whatever happened, before you know it, he had me in a headlock. And I was going like this. And he was just looking around like that. By the end of the afternoon, he was my best friend. He didn't speak English. I spoke a little bit. I said, I'll be a translator. You watch my back.
Perfect. You're getting a beautiful friendship, huh?
Exactly. Yeah. It was sort of like the Lucky Luciano Marlansky thing. You're the brains, and I'll be the muscle.
There you go.
But anyway, I got over that. My bully days were over pretty soon when everyone, when I kind of settled in,
And did sports kind of help you find your way there and settle in? I mean, did that give you a sense of?
I love sports, and I was very, very active in baseball, football until I sort of didn't get tall enough, and basketball. I sort of eventually committed to basketball because I had to pick a sport in high school. So but I was very, always involved in sports, year round, basically. Whatever season it was, I was very, very much engaged.
When exactly did you start to develop an interest in acting, theater, or whatever, and what was it about it that interested you?
Well, my interest initially was in films, going to the movies, and getting lost in going to the films and losing myself in them and admiring the heroes of the time, which were like Steve McQueen and Sean Connery and James Coburn. Sort of, the movies that were out in the 60s, The Great Escape, the Bond movies, Our Man Flint, and I used to go to the matinees, especially in the summer. I used to go in like at noon. I would take a bus, on those days, you take a bus by yourself, you're a little kid, nobody cared, it was a very safe environment. And I used to go to the matinees and stay until 8 o'clock at night, just keep watching the movie over and over again, or they'll have double features. And I was just enamored with film, Peter Sellers and so I never had sort of like this interest where I was saying I want to do that. I was just fascinated by it. So that was always inside of me, I think, and I remember when James Coburn came in and he made his entrance in The Magnificent Seven, which is one of the great entrances for an actor in films. I remember saying to myself, I want to, like in Tigos, I want to be that guy, And not, as destiny would have it, and the same with Sean Connery. I ended up working with Sean. I ended up hiring James Coburn to be in a movie with me.
Isn't that great?
And then in The Untouchables, my scene in my introductory scene in The Untouchables is a lift from the introduction scene of James Coburn in The Untouchables. It has a direct, design-wise, because The Untouchables is patterned after The Magnificent Seven, which is patterned after The Seven Samurai.
Right.
So, and my character is James Coburn, the guy who throws the knife, and this guy's the guy who's the sharpshooter, and he's quicker than anybody else, and so forth. So life, there's someone in charge of my life, and so I always give it up to the man.
There you go. There you go. That must have been wild to be able to hire him to be in your film. I mean, did you have to kind of pinch yourself and go, "Is this really happening?"
I'm always pinching myself. I'm sure I'm gonna. The only thing that is absolutely real for me, why I know that it's really happening, is my kids, my beautiful daughters here.
Yeah.
That if I was just alone out there, I probably think it was all just my own, bizarre hallucinations that my life has been going through.
Family's very important to you.
Yeah, we have a good family. It's a close family. We stick together, and we love each other, and we argue with each other too.
That's a good family.
My two oldest daughters are actresses, and my youngest daughter is at Emerson College, maybe transferring in the marketing department. And
that's great. And we have some actors here, yes, in your family. Yes.
My Dominique is an actress. She's in a movie with me right now, City Island.
Yeah. And have you all seen City Island? Yeah.
And we've worked together three other. This is our third time, right? Fourth time.
Lost City.
Yeah, we worked in 4 movies together. Daniela, we've worked twice together. Cool. She just graduated from Cal Arts from the acting program. And Alessandra's going to be my business manager very soon.
Excellent. Keeping it all in the family. I like that. That's great. Good deal. Is that what's that like to be, to have the opportunity to work with your kids?
Oh, it's great. I mean, they're terrific actresses, and it's always a joy. But when you get on the set, it's kind of like there's only so much you can do, and then everybody's got their own process. When actors get trained, we all find our own way about things. And if I'm working with them as a director, then I have a different responsibility.
Sure.
As an actor, then I'm looking after them like they would look after me as an actor, as a fellow actor. But because that's important to do also, especially in not only in theater but in film. The most important work is done off camera, I believe. So, it's been great. We've had good experiences, and I've watched them act. Since they were little girls. So all 3 of them danced ballet since they were kids. So
that's cool.
They've been committed to that craft for
good long time now.
Yeah, for a long time.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's kind of jump back now, to your time in Miami. You're starting to get interested in acting. What are you doing? I mean, you went to was it Florida International?
No,
College
I took the year I was sick, my senior year in high school. I had a very long case of mono. For some reason, it hit me very hard, and having hepatitis, a strain of hepatitis that sometimes it
goes along with it.
And I was just, I couldn't even, against the doctor's wills, I tried to practice. I couldn't even run. So I guess that, opened up this other, I was in bed for a month and I watched a lot of television. Just like this whole other virus was able to kind of come out, because I wasn't preoccupied with other things such as athletics and stuff. So this other thing took hold, and it kind of picked me. I really didn't say this. It wasn't a conscious thing, but in my senior year, I took a class from a gentleman by the name of Jay Jensen, who was an acting teacher there in Beach High, who was a very, very good teacher and was very supportive, of me, and gave me a lot of encouragement. And the class was a very positive experience for me. And I got a couple laughs.
Yeah.
and I was very stimulated by it. And he said, you have a feel for it, and you should continue your studies. And so then I went to junior college, and I started to, on my own, continue to study acting, and then eventually went to a 2-year university, FIU at the time, and was in the theater department there. And then when I finished that, I moved to Los Angeles in 1978, and then I kept studying here while I was looking for work.
The acting teacher you mentioned he also worked with, is it Mickey Rourke or something?
Mickey went to my high school. He was my little league coach when I was a little kid, and I'm sure maybe he took some classes with Jay, but Brett Radner went through there. Right. There's a bunch of people that came out of Beach High, I think, and he was a very good teacher, very committed over the years to his kids there, and people loved him. And but Mickey was in my high school. He's a little bit older than I, and he coached me when I was in Little League, and which it was an interesting sight to see.
I'll bet.
He's basically the same guy you see today, but he's coaching third base. And
do you still keep in touch?
Yeah, we're good friends, and I call him coach. He calls me slugger, and we won the city championship. He didn't show up.
Oh, wow.
And he used to coach in Landlover, hip hugger jeans in those days with the big bell bottoms that were very low cut.
Yeah.
So he'd go, you'd always see the crack of his ass showing. And he'd wear these little
those half shirts.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And he smoked,
Yeah. You could blackmail him with some of those pictures, I think, probably.
No, listen, he's still dressing like that. I think if you checked out Mickey's wardrobe, I don't think that's an issue for him.
So
I love him. He's a great actor, and he's always
sure
been
is.
extremely inspirational and warm to me. Very generous and very warm to me when he sees me.
is that somebody that you would say was something of a mentor to you?
No, because I lost track of him. I ran when I moved to LA in '78. I went to see Heaven's Gate, and I was looking at the end credits, and I see and I was watching to see who's in. It was a big cast, and I see Mickey Rourke, and I went, Mickey Rourke. So then when I saw the movie again, I said, I got to see the movie again. Is that Mickey? I said, Mickey is an actor, and I went, yeah. I could see that right away. I could say, I could see how that would be a natural fit for him. And then I watched the movie and I recognized him. And then it so happens that he was living in town, and I was able to track him down, and we started hanging around together. And
cool.
And in a sense, he was a mentor in the sense that he was always very warm-hearted, very generous with me, and very proud of me. And when we premiered the City Island at the Tribeca Festival, I invited him, and he sat and he was sitting next to me. And so it's interesting how life comes around.
Full circle.
And he was laughing his heart out. He goes, "I'm going to call the head of the Venice Film Festival. He's a good friend of mine. This movie's fantastic." He was so encouraging. So it was. I love Mick.
Yeah.
He's always been
somewhere
a little out of
kilter.
Out of kilter. And he always will be, and that's part of his charm and part of his the thing that's interesting about him. But he had a very traumatic upbringing and situation at home and stuff. So sometimes it's hard to survive those things without demons.
Yeah. So it must have taken a fair amount of courage to make that move from Florida to Hollywood. I mean, you didn't go to New York first; you went all the way across the coast. Huh?
Yeah. Well, I was interested in film. Film was the thing that I was very enamored with. So I figured I'd have the film industry was here, and I had a friend of mine, the actor Stephen Bauer, who had come like 4 or 5 months before and called me and said, "Get over here. There's a lot of work." And I didn't work for 8 years. So.
Such is the life, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But he was one guy I knew here in New York. I didn't know anybody, so I figured, well.
Yeah.
But it was really my attraction to film. I was always interested in film and the conceit of doing movies and not only as an actor, but I had, I guess, this very early on the interest in making movies.
Storytelling.
Yeah. So.
Do you remember where you lived first?
I lived in a storefront apartment on Fountain and Sycamore, behind I think it's a Vons now. It was something else before.
Right.
And I paid like $200 a month in rent, and it was a bad apartment because it had I was on the ground level, on the sidewalk of a complex, and it was like a little studio there.
Yeah.
It was one room and a bathroom basically, but it had a floor-to-ceiling glass with a curtain. So you basically get off the sidewalk and take like 5 steps, and you were at my door. So I don't know why I picked that place other than the rent, but every night, all the hookers going between the fountain. And this is before the Olympics, when you had the female hookers on Sunset and the male hookers on Santa Monica.
Or whatever,
And the Sycamore was like the throughway. So
it's a pipeline. It was a.
After a while, it was pretty depressing because I could close the thing, but the street lights, it was like the silhouette of people going by. And one time I get a knock on the door, and I'm asleep, and I'm going like that. And I go, oh God, it's like at 3 a.m. or something. I'll go, who's knocking on my door? So I opened the curtain. I wouldn't even open the door. I didn't have a little peephole. Right. I opened the curtain like that, and it like the Marx Brothers, like 4 heads came in like, dun, 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 dun. And the first guy says, hey, you're a gypsy who lives around here? I go, what? He goes, "Hey, it's a gypsy who lives around here." And I said, "No, there's no gypsy who lives around here." He said, "They told me it was a gypsy who lives right around here." He said, "I'm sorry, there's no gypsy." And then they disappeared, and I go on. And then I realized, I'm the gypsy they're looking for. I'm the guy they told.
Oh, is that right?
Gypsy who lives around.
No kidding.
Of course, who else would have?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Sorry.
Nothing came of that, though. You got out of that one.
No, I didn't open the door.
Okay, good. Yeah. Now, had you met your wife yet? Did she come out with you? Or,
no.
or
We had met prior to that, and we had been dating since '76. And but I came out by myself first, and in '82 we got married, and then she came out, on the adventure per se, because I still hadn't gotten any work, and and then that first apartment, the only thing I brought out was my conga drums, so I would eat at my conga drums was my dining room table. So I don't know what she saw in me to have faith that I could somehow pull it together,
Well,
But we had Dominique was born the first year of our marriage, and we had about $50 in the bank when she was born. But we had a family, a place to crash, and we were doing okay. By then I had seen the light at the end of the tunnel. It was very far away. But I had seen the light,
Did you try to do some plays here when you first got here?
I did some legit plays. I studied. I audited a lot of classes. I audited with Stella Adler, and then there's over at the the Actor Studio West down on Sunset there down below. And I studied with a gentleman, David Proval, very good actor, who studied at the Neighborhood Playhouse, and I studied a lot on the Meisner technique. And so I kept active, and I was doing a lot of improvisational theater at the Comedy Store and all the cabarets. We had our own, improvisational theater group. And so I was pretty staying active, but my representation or the lack of it kept me out of the opportunities to audition. So it was very, so I was working odd jobs, as a waiter.
What kind of day jobs did you have to
I worked a lot at the Beverly Hilton as a banquet waiter, and those, when you go to the Beverly Hilton and you see, like the Golden Globe. I worked the Golden Globes one year,
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I didn't know I was working. I just showed up. It was the Golden Globe. And so that one I did for quite some time, 2 or 3 years. But also, I laid down roof. I worked at Roadway, those trucks that say Roadway.
Yeah.
I used to load or unload those trucks by myself, at the City of Commerce, and starving students. I was a starving student.
You were.
All those kind, whatever you could do as an actor.
The
The great thing about the Beverly Hilton was that one day later on in my life, I was blessed that I was honored with an award at the Beverly Hilton. So when I went on stage to get the award, all the waiters in the back.
One of our guys. All right. That's great.
Fun. And the guy that was my partner there, Guillermo, is still there. And every time I go by, he's always there. And the other day we were honoring Anthony Hopkins there, and that he asked me to give the award to him, and I was sitting, and Robert Downey Jr. was sitting on the table with us, and Guillermo came over and to give me a hug, and I said, "Let me introduce you, Robert. Let me introduce you to the gentleman who taught me everything I need to know about waitering." And he said, "What?" He goes, "No, I used to work here. He was my partner." And Robert was like,
just didn't compute, did it? Yeah. So when did
I worked in the coming home table in the Golden Globes that year, which was Hal Ashby's table, which Hal was one of my film heroes. And then I ended up sometime after that, working with him in a movie. He wasn't there that night. He didn't show up.
Oh, is that right?
He didn't show up to get his own award, but that was the year of Coming Home.
And so what was sort of the first break that you did get? I mean, did you get better representation that gave you the opportunities, or did you hit a role?
I started to get little parts here and there on TV from people that would come to the Comedy Store, and someone, but little, like a one day, a little line here, the kind of thing. Nothing major. Then I got a manager by the name of Phyllis Carlisle, who helped me a lot. Got me on a lot of general interviews so people can get a sense of who I was. It's very difficult for actors, especially if you have a Hispanic last name.
Sure.
That was before the actors with Hispanic names were like in style, you know. So in those days in the 70s, first of all, there was no cable television.
Right.
So there was no all that opportunity that actors have now in all the different cable shows or whatever.
It's not
that
there.
was gone.
Yeah.
So it was only the five, let's say like five major studios, Warner's, the classic studios. No independent labels. There was no Miramaxes or Fox.
Right.
The indie movies were being done like on their own. There was no like division. So the opportunities to audition were, there's only 3 networks and that was it. So the opportunities I think were less. And then an actor with a Hispanic surname, last name became immediately stereotyped into a Hispanic. Well, you can only play a Hispanic character. And in those days, the only characters that were really being written for Hispanics were gang members.
Gangsters, yeah. Right.
Not even gangsters, gang members.
Right.
It was even much
the lower
more,
level, yeah.
even more specific. Mexican gang
Right.
members, and or maids.
Right. You worked on Hill Street Blues, right? Was it
I
the first
did.
episode or something?
Yeah,
Is that right?
that was my first gang member. What happened was Betty Thomas was a member of the improv group there, and she was on the show, and she said, I'm going to do this show. You'll be great in it. I talked to the casting lady. She's coming to the show tonight. I want to introduce you. And then she saw me, and then she put me on the show. And I do the first scene on Hill Street Blues is me screaming. The camera pans, over the first credit, and you see me in the background going, I don't know if he took my car. I'm going to kill him. I don't know what it was. Something like that. And cut. Thank you very much.
Get out.
And and then little thing, they call me back like 4 times. I think they killed me twice. So little things like that. But it was hard to get up because nobody saw me as a gang member, and then for any other part, they wouldn't really see me because there was a cloud when you present yourself with an ethnic last name. They immediately in those days still
put you in that compartment.
and so it took me a long time to begin to break out of that stereotypical pot. And I was lucky I was able to do that because because you can't have a sustained career just playing this sort of like who you are ethnically as an actor or something, or if you're an Irish or from Finland or whatever, if you only play those guys, you're dead in the water. So it took me a long time. That wasn't my breaks didn't come easy but I did at one point see the light at the end of the tunnel, and that's what sustained me. I said I see it now, and
what
I'm
was
going to
it?
get there.
What did you see? I mean, what shifted?
Through study and working on the craft, I started to own the room in a sense as an actor, the audition room, and which is the things I tell my daughters and all the young actors, that the most important thing is when you go into an audition situation, the likelihood is you're not going to get the part. So that's like this.
Go in with a given.
But the space that's your time to perform. And if you can, own that room, control that room, and cause an impression when you leave, the people go, right. So I'm going to put this guy's going to come over here in my go-to pile. You'll begin to form a reputation amongst the casting people, right? Which people are going to say, oh yeah, he's very good. And before you know it, someone will call you and even offer you a part without auditioning. And I just saw that was the way. And if you commit to that's going to take some time. But as long as I had the opportunity to audition, I'd get to the light.
So what? Let's see. What one of the early films that you did that would have been what 8 Million Ways to Die? Is that one of the?
8 Million Ways to Die was one of the early principal characters. Yeah, there was one before the Mean Season, which I did, and then 8 Million Ways to Die. Yeah.
So it's about around in that time that you're starting to kind of
that was like 85.
Breaking your
85, 86.
stride.
Yeah. The Mean Season got me some exposure. I got some calls to be like a regular or a reoccurring character on some series. And in those days, there was a bit of a taboo. If you went to the TV way, you kind of the film was so. I kind of rolled the dice and said, I'm here to do film, and that's why I came. So I'm going to roll the dice and hold out.
And you've kind of done both over your career, haven't you? I mean, you haven't done the regular on series TV, but
sometimes
you'll go back and do a little guest star or something.
Yeah,
or
sometimes their friends are in it, or things like that you're in. And
Uh-huh.
I'm not opposed to it. I just the long-term commitment of the regular thing always I knew would keep me out of the opportunity to do other things.
film.
So it's really not so much a TV as it was the getting locked into 5-7 years or something, and so that's why I was always hesitant about it, and still am to this day. But it was so I just kept rolling the dice, and then this thing with Hal came up, and I was able to get. They didn't want to see me at first because they were looking for a guy, and they were saying we're looking for a guy who's like Hector Macho Camacho. That was their image of the character.
Okay.
And I said, I can play that guy, and they said, no, we know Andy. He's through this. He's very elegant, whatever. And then they said So it took me a while to get in. Then I finally went in to see Lynn, and I knew if I went in, so I went in character, because if I went in neutral to say hi, it wasn't going to work. So I just went in as a character, and they gave me the part that same day.
That's great. John Kearney here wants to know what it was like working with Hal Ashby.
Oh, there you go. Where's John? Oh, hi, John. Hal is a personal hero of mine. I was first of all. His movies were amongst the best movies that I still consider the best movies for my taste. From Coming Home to The Last Detail or Hal Amorde or Being There, which I think is a masterpiece. So working with Hal, he was a very. Here's the Hal story. When I showed you how he was a very open individual. He loved improvisation. He could throw the whole script out. Once he had his actors and he knew the story he wanted to tell, he was like a beatnik artist in a way. He was very exploratory, very free. He would the only direction he would give you would he come up to and say, "That was great. We got that. Try something else." And he keeps shooting and and you could say, "I want to stand on my head and sing the national anthem," and he'll go, "Okay," and basically shoot it, because he was a great editor, And so he was very free with his actors, and that's why I think some of the actors who work with him have given some of their greatest performances. And to show you his craziness, this is a story I've told before, but I love it so much because after that day that I auditioned and I went through the whole thing, they finally brought Hal in. And I played the character, the scene for Hal, and he went, "Oh, that's what." And then, so I said, and I finally broke character. I said, "Mr. Ashby, I'm a huge fan, and if this part doesn't work out, I'd like to audition for this other part of Chance." There was another part in the movie. There was Jeff Bridges was the central character, and there was two antagonists. The other guy was written as a Bahamian pimp. So I said, I'm not Bahamian, but I spent time there, and I could be a guy who've grown in the Bahamas, but I'd like to show you what I can do. And he said, "Okay." And he says, "When do you like it?" I said, "I'd like a day to turn around." And he said, "Fine, I'll come back and you can audition on Thursday." Like this was Wednesday, like Friday, like one day. So when I got home, my agent called and said, "What happened in there?" And I goes, "No, it went well, and he's going to see me for the other part." He goes, "Yeah, they called me and they made you an offer for Angel, which is the part I auditioned for. Yeah. But Hal will see you on Friday for the other part."
How about that? What a guy.
That was Hal Ashby. And I ended up going in and doing a whole other performance, I don't know why. I should have just, grabbed the guy. Which is the part, that was really the part that was right for me, but I figured I committed to it, so I had to follow through or something. I don't know. He was extraordinary. And as myself as a director, I'm inspired a lot, and I would say I was, my approach to film is very in homage to him in a way. He took me to dailies with him every day. He was going to set up. Eventually they took the movie away from him. He was going to set up a Steinbeck, editing suite for me and Jeff to come in and cut our own scenes because we were interested in the process. He goes, "Oh, I'll set you up. You guys cut it. You show it to me." He was very open. He was a very open, experimental, cat, and like I said, I was very influenced by him.
It takes a lot of courage to take those kinds of chances, I would think, and yet look what it did.
It's all raw material. What I learned from him, it was all raw material. There's no, that judgment is not part of the process of making a movie. You can orchestrate, but to judge an actor or to say, "Don't do that. It's not going to work. Please don't do that again."
Right.
And the actor's going,
Right.
what does he want? What do I need to do? And or when you do that, do this, and your actor's going, oh God, now I got to do this, and you're not in the moment. You're not. So Al, that didn't exist in this movie. He would just go, great, we got that. Keep working. Try something else. Try something else. And that, so you're always going, okay, I'll try something else. So the actor was always free, and there's a sense of liberty to that, And the judgment is for the editing room. That's what you do. You go, take over here.
Right.
But not for, philosophically for me, as part of the raw material of the film.
And does that apply as well to your work as an actor? I mean, you
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
like to approach it that way as well.
Absolutely.
The judgment is not a part of this. I mean, put it out there,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And try to give as many options and to get as much exploration in as you can. Because you don't know if you think that, maybe he should be crying, maybe he should be laughing here, maybe, we don't know what just keep exploring, and then when you run out of time exploring, you take all that with you. And many times things that I've learned, I've seen in films that I've been in, which directors would find irrational at the moment, something that, specifically to me, because I remember it, that I would do that people go, I don't, well, let's go again. I'm not sure. And I said, well, it just happened, we'll see what happens. They were going, yeah, but they had that irrational situation ended up in the movie.
Yeah, right.
And it was actually an emotional, pivotal point in the beats of the story. Because
So
the
that
character,
unconscious,
character starts to speak, and there's a subconscious connection you have to the material and to the inner life of the character and the story that it's impossible for you to articulate or intellectualize about it. So it's just kind of manifesting itself inside of you, and you're channeling that guy that you're getting to know. So.
Any kind of tricks that you use to keep yourself in that place? Because I think everybody would love to be in the moment in that way when they're working.
Part of it was my training as in improvisational theater, but I had Francis Coppola, which I got to work in 1990, so it was pretty soon.
Yeah.
He used to have a thing that he used to say, actors free take. He still does it, I'm sure. And what it was is that he would just say to the actor, actors free take. Okay, actors free take. And you could do a song and dance number. Had nothing to do with the movie. He would film it. And it was just to kind of
loosen it up.
Yeah, just like we're getting into a pattern here. And I always use that to this day. If I feel I'm stuck in a scene or before the director goes, okay, we got it. I go, okay, no more actors free take.
Yeah.
And I say to myself, it's free.
Yeah.
And then I don't worry about thinking about anything. I try to just get completely unconnected to what I've been doing.
Yeah.
And start the scene from a point of view of like, huh? Oh, what? And just go, And I found that a lot of people I admire have gotten to that in Alan Arkin, for one, who talked to me about that. And I'm going, oh, it's interesting. And a lot of masters that people I consider masterful individuals, they come to a point in their craft where they don't want to be thinking about it,
Yeah.
That they want everything to be a discovery. Because the work is, so you've already done all the work, you've already overthought the process. You got to do that work, you can't just go into, but there has to be a point where the discovery is completely.
Kind of leave that all behind.
Yeah, and it's all there because you're going to react with all that information in terms of story, even if it's an improvisation, you have all that story, all the work you've done. But
you ever find moments, or did Coppola ever find moments in those free actor takes that actually made it into the movie?
I'm sure he did. He did. And he'd also have one called editor's free take, which he would ask you to play the whole scene without any dialogue. So the editor can come in wherever he wanted. So he wanted you to play all the beats in the scene, but with no words.
Wow.
And movement, whatever was happening there kind of was all there, but no words.
Wow, that's quite an assignment.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, those are the kind of things you learn from people like that, and that's Francis. I mean, he's there are a lot of gods, but there's only one Zeus.
Could you talk a little bit? There's several questions in here from different members asking about the audition process for Godfather 3. I mean, it seemed that everybody wanted that role.
Yeah.
And you walked away with it.
Well, what happened was I had been doing some films for Paramount. I did The Untouchables.
Right.
And then they offered me to do Black Rain with Michael. I went to New York to meet Michael. with Diane Crittenden was casting the movie, and she actually cast the movie I'm in right now, Christiana. And I met Michael, and he liked me and Ridley, and so they gave me an opportunity to do that. Then, as I was doing that, they were writing a movie for me, Internal Affairs, that Frank Mancuso Jr. produced with me, and they developed. Yeah, Mike Figgis. I actually recommended Mike Figgis for the movie.
Oh, is that right?
And they were looking for a director. I said, you should meet this guy. I saw this movie and I had met him, and maybe bring someone in from that's not American, something who bring like a new feel to the genre, you know. So, so then I was doing Internal Affairs for them, and while I was shooting, like halfway through the shoot, Frank Mancuso Sr., who was the head of the studio, came to me at lunchtime. It's a long story. How much tape do you have?
We're doing good.
And he said, what are you doing in September? Because I want to talk to Francis. Because I want you to play Vincent Mancini in The Godfather. So I said, I'll check my schedule. And there was already that movie was already beginning to brew. So that was like May. So my agent said, no, Frank, the studio, he wants you to do the movie. He's going to talk to Francis. Now, the thing with Francis is that Francis has control over the casting of the movie. The history of the Godfather casting process from 1 and 2, especially 1, it's like a movie on itself. The studio wanted, Robert Redford to play Michael Corleone, or Robert Evans to play Michael Corleone, and all these people. And Francis always wanted Al, always wanted Jamie Caan, and always wanted Robert Duvall. Those were his guys. And John Cazale. Those were his picks. He had met him, he had seen him in movies in Panic at Needle Park. He saw him on stage, and he said, this is the guy. And Al screen tested like 400 times for the movie, and every time the studio would test him, they go, hey, he's not doing anything. He's a little guy. He doesn't do anything. Guy's terrible. The guy's terrible. And Francis says, anyway. So the studio suggestion for the parts were always like wrong.
Yeah,
so the fact that the studio was picking me, it was like, here we go again. So anyway, so that's May. Right. So basically throughout the whole summer, the movie was going to start rehearsal in September. Throughout the whole summer, people were beginning to screen test for the part because it was a beautiful part, and everybody wanted to be in the movie. Obviously, our young actors, and I kept saying to my agent, "Can I just screen test? I haven't even met Francis, and I'm supposed to be the studio's choice, and I haven't even met him."
Right.
Don't worry, number one. Yeah, but just every week, 4 of the guys,
Parade
very good
by.
actors,
Right.
These are talented guys are going in taking a shot at this, and I'm fishing, And I couldn't even get a meeting. And then I was in Florida with the girls, and I got a call to meet Francis. I flew in, and I met him at Fred Roos's office. And Fred had known me from the Mean Season and was supporting also that as a choice, me as a choice. Right. I met Francis. I had one of those original laptops. This is a very long story.
It's all right.
He had one of those little laptops, the original IBM things, and he would talk to me and go. And I was going, oh my God. So then he said, thank you for coming in. I saw you in The Untouchables. You're a very nice actor. Thank you for coming in. I said, thank you. I'm honored to be here. And I left.
That was it?
That was it. There was no reading or nothing. There was just a lot of...
Now, were you nervous going? I mean, you must have been.
I said, I mean, it's like, what it's nothing to do. I said, I'm ready to audition, but you got to let me audition first,
Okay.
So now it's like August. Now we come back to get the kids back in school, and it's like August 28th, right? I get a call on Thursday afternoon. Francis wants you to fly into Napa Valley on Friday morning. Fly in Thursday night for a screen test tomorrow morning. You got to have a deal in place just in case you get the part. And I said, okay. I mean, it's not much negotiating going on here. So I left in Burbank Airport to Napa Valley. Sorry, that was Wednesday. So I left in the afternoon Thursday to go there. I get there Thursday afternoon. Madeline Stowe was on the plane with me. She was screen testing for, which I was very lucky because she was great. And then we get to Francis's house. He sets a meeting at his vineyard. And we go to this little bungalow, kind of barn bungalow that he has where he has all his stuff. And this is the best part of the story, not the rest of it. But he had this book. He had this book of that he had done himself, and he was very proud of it. And it was like a crafts book. And in this book, he had the Godfather novel cut out, all the pages. And he says, I took and he's explaining to me, he says, I took 2 novels, and I, with a razor blade, took out all the pages, and I pasted page 1 on this one, and sort of had a big border on it, because it was a big book, but the novel was only this big, you know. And then I took page 1 from the other novel, which became page 2, and pasted it on the back. So he had a big book like this with the novel on both pages, and notes all around the margins, you know, saying, over here, I'm going to do this. And it became like his workstation.
Bible.
Yeah, his Bible.
Yeah.
He said he showed it to me like he was so proud, like a kid, like his first project at school. Because he's like a big kid. I mean, Francis' enthusiasm, he's that way. And I was so fascinated. And I kind of do that with my scripts a little bit. Anyway, the point is, he gives me the pages, he tells me who this guy is, and he gives me these pages to audition at 9 o'clock in the morning with screen testing in the morning. I go back to this bungalow motel, it's on Rutherford Lane there, which is, Napa Valley is, there's like two street lights in 40 miles. It's at night it's a very dark place, And, so I get in there and I go to my room and the lights go out in the valley.
Oh, no.
And when the lights go out in that valley, there's no light. Not even moonlight is going to help you. I mean, it's pitch dark. Yeah. So I stumble back to the office, kind of retracing the steps because it was like a bungalow separated from where this little office was. Right. And I stumble back in there. I knock on the door, and a woman comes out like Scrooge with a
kerosene.
With a
candle.
A candle holder like this. Yes. He goes. He says, "No, the lights went out. I have no lights." He goes, "Yes, I know the lights went out." I said, "When do you anticipate the lights going on?" He said, "When?"
Hard to say.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Could be now. It could be 2 days from now. It doesn't. Here, this is Napa Valley, kid. Get used to it. So. She said, "Hold on a second." She came back and she handed me a candle with a candle holder. Yeah. And I walked my way back to my room with my, and I put the candle thing down. And I started.
Oh man!
Until I was like dizzy from the, trying to read the scenes, and I said, "Oh, yeah." So I went to sleep. I said, "I gotta get to bed. This is ridiculous." Maybe in the morning I'll wake up early and try to.
Yeah. Right.
So anyway, I went to bed and then I got to the place and they put me in this wardrobe. I slicked my hair back and I played the scene. And I was very happy with what I did. So wherever the chip, I felt like whatever happened, I felt like you were there. Yeah. I hit it, Yeah. And then Fred says, "Francis would like you to stay for dinner." And I said,
good sign.
I said, "Okay." And about 10 minutes later, he came back and he said, "It's okay, you can go home." Oh. No, I said, "Change your plans, go ahead and go home."
Oh, no.
And I said to myself, whatever. I saw what I did, I felt the room. When you know as an actor that you sink, lock in and there's nothing else you could have done, that that you had the attention of the people and you hit it. You hit it, when you hit it, So they called me the next morning, Saturday, and they said, "You got the part." And I flew out Sunday to rehearse on Monday. So he left me for the last guy, even though the studio wanted me in May. So that's the story.
That's great. That's great.
He was, I think, he was showing the studio. No, it's my. I think it's like saying, "Yeah, no, it's my decision. I'll make it when I want to make it."
Right.
Meantime, he had a young actor going crazy. I could have taken another job. I could have taken another job and not been available, technically. You know?
When he sent you home, did you think it was all over? I mean, when he said, you're not staying for dinner? Or,
You know what? It at that point, it really, it didn't matter because I just felt like, when it was my shot, I just felt like I say to my kids and, when it was my shot,
that's it.
I hit it.
Yeah.
And I knew it, so that's all you can do, Yeah. You know it when you own, when you own and make the impression you want to make, After that, it's in God's hands. But,
there you go.
If I felt that I had a weak audition or I felt bad, then it would have been different. But I just felt at that point in my life that I had seen the light, and I had the light. It was in here, and whether it's Francis or the Godfather or the Pink Panther, I was going to have. I had another. I had another gig coming.
Right. Good.
Yeah.
How about the experience on the film itself? I mean, what was
extraordinary? Again, I used to go to dailies every night with Gordon Willis. My appetite as a filmmaker was like, going to a master's class there. So I took advantage of that situation very seriously, not only as an actor, but to study what he, how does Francis Ford Coppola make a movie? What are the choices that are being made here? What is Gordon? And I knew those movies very well. I was pretty obsessed with the Godfather movies. I mean, I studied them very, very hard, even before I was making the movie. They were one of the main reasons why I became an actor was because of Godfather 1. That was the early 70s when I first took my first acting classes. So that was, for me, it was is going to a master's, and I paid a lot of attention to what was going on. I used to go to dailies every day with Gordon, and I asked a lot of questions, and I stood by the camera a lot and watched Francis do his thing, and I learned a lot, and I felt like when I came out of that movie, I felt that I was not only an actor, but I could now be a filmmaker.
Yeah. So that was kind of where you knew you wanted to start directing, and
I've always had that interest.
Were there,
I've always had that interest in, and I was always very stimulated by the independent cinema. The conceit of making a movie outside the system, and seeing where the chips fall after that. That was the John Cassavetes, and that spirit of that is something that to this day. I mean, I've just done 2 independent movies back to back. I started one last week, and I finished one 2 weeks ago. So it's an area which I'm active in, and I enjoy, and I love the freedom of it. City Island, the movie we did, is a completely independent film. It took us 3 years to get it made. And The Lost City, a movie I made, took me 16 years. So I'm not. That's a place where I enjoy hanging my hat. Not to say that I can't get hired for other things, hopefully, but I'm not worried about budgets or parameters of budget or the content. Yes, I'm worried about the other work.
So after The Godfather, you got quite a bit of attention. I mean, you got accolades, awards. You were nominated for Academy Awards, Golden Globes. How did that change things for you? Did the offers start coming your way more?
Yeah, there was more. There was more opportunities, and it was my nature to take it slow. It's just the nature of. The onslaught of fame is not easy for people. It's not easy to understand it. When you get that kind of thing. So, it was, I had to kind of step back a little bit from it, and not get, sucked into it or overwhelmed by it. And because of that, sometimes you have opportunities that you could have jumped on that might have been good ones. But you could also jump on some that would have been not really good.
Right.
So it's just my nature not to be so to be more reserved in that sense. So
by then, did you have an agent or a manager that you were working with that helped you with some of those decisions, or were you
it was the same people.
It
was pretty same people I had prior to that, and I was just looking for stuff that I was stimulated by, and not necessarily like scenarios that someone would deem, this is what you should do, or that what you should do. It's more like, it's like, why am I here, and what are the kind of movies that I want to be associated with? And
so that's really how you pick your projects.
Pretty much.
Does it speak to me?
Does it speak to me? And it's just something that I feel represents my sensibilities, and am I stimulated by it? Am I hooked by it? And and that was from the get-go, even when nobody was interested in me. There was. When something came up that was, and I go, I can't see myself in that doing that. I just don't. I don't want to, And it's not about box office or anything like that. It's just about,
doesn't
really matter. It's about do I want to be associated with that, film, basically, Right. And it could be a movie nobody sees, but it doesn't matter. The fact that the movie exists is success enough already.
Not long after that, you did Stand and Deliver, right? Was that before or after? That was just
that was. I think that was right after The Untouchables came out.
Okay.
It was in like around there. Yeah.
So you're always attracted to very character-driven sort of.
Yeah,
the stories of the people.
As an actor, that's where you. Yeah. And the thing about the independent cinema is that most of the movies in the independent world are character-driven pieces. That's why they become independent.
Right.
They're independent because no studio wants to make them.
There's no product tie-ins that they can go to.
Exactly. I mean, there's no. high concept. You know, they all want,
Yeah.
they all submit it to Paramount or to Warner Brothers to see if they bite, but they don't bite, and then you become an independent film by the very nature of your subject matter. You know.
Right. Right.
And you know, and they come to light at the end of the year. People recognize them for what they are, and sometimes they're, you know, like for example, The Hurt Locker last year is a completely independent film and won the Best Picture Oscar. It was completely outside the system, you know.
Yep.
And every year there's 2 or 3 of them that are competing with those big dogs to win the coveted prize, as they say, you know.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Because we all have the same cameras.
Yeah, right. That's right.
So it's just a question of how
and
you
now
use
more than ever, I think, really.
And now,
'cause,
and it's a question of what you're filming, who you're filming, what's your story, you know, how you execute it. And sometimes you don't need a lot of money to execute a story properly, you know.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned The Lost City a moment ago. 16 years, really? It took that long to get this thing together.
Yeah.
What? I mean, talk a little bit about.
Nobody wanted to make it. Nobody believed in it. No, I couldn't get any support from anyone. I got support from actors who, you know, I mean, I ended up with a great cast, including Bill Murray and Dustin Hoffman. But this, in terms of studios and never. Even when we made the movie, there was nobody who, you know, we premiered the movie in Telluride, and we had to show the movie 8 times because of the demand of the film, which was a record.
Yeah.
And there, not one studio was big,
Crazy.
you know. And you think, with, you know, they all marginalized the movie because it was a movie about the Cuban Revolution, as though only Cubans would be interested in watching it, you know. And meanwhile, in Telluride, I was the only Cuban there, you know? Aside from my daughters, you know. And everybody wanted to see it, so it didn't make any sense, you know. And I always said, I said, I wasn't on Schindler's List, and I went to see the movie. You know?
Right. That's right.
You know?
That's right. And people who weren't Italians actually went and saw The Godfather.
I wasn't an English patient. And,
well, there you go. Yeah, but
it's you. Sometimes you suffer those sort of marginalized stereotypes from the distribution system to say, oh, it's only so many people be interested in that. I don't believe in that. There's only 2 kinds of movies: good movies and bad movies.
Yeah. That's a good movie too. I mean, I watched it last week again, and it's so powerful. It's beautifully shot.
Shot the movie in 35 days.
Right. And now, interestingly, I mean, you've never been back to Cuba, really, for the most part, right?
No.
So that was shot in the Dominican Republic.
In the Dominican Republic, yeah.
You also scored that picture, didn't you?
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about your music? And I mean,
well, I've always been interested in, as a child, in music, but I started studying percussion when I was in my teens. And then, but when I got the script for The Lost City, which was, interestingly enough, when we started The Godfather in 1990, and the character said he played the piano in private. Right. And I've always been interested in the piano. My grandmother played, my aunt played the piano, but I never had a piano at home. So, so I said it's a perfect. So I rented a piano at our house that we were staying at near Cinecittà in Rome, and I started to go with 4 fingers, ding, 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 and just started. I wanted to be able to
fake it a little bit,
fake it a little bit. Yeah. But the movie took 16 years, so by the end of that, I was
pretty good, huh?
I got pretty good at it. And I ended up writing all the material for the film and scoring the picture. Yeah.
And did you write the music for like even the bands and the clubs and all that, or was it really more the score?
The soundtrack, which you could buy, which is a 2 CD 45 song soundtrack, is a compilation of music that I had been producing for the movie. Yeah. That I played on but did not write. Okay. Some of the music was. Most of it was written, those production numbers. Some of it was folkloric. Others were with a gentleman I had been producing music with named Cachao, was an old Cuban bass player. So thank you, brother. Cachao's grandson. So when I would record these records, I already had an idea for the movie. I said, Cachao, I want to do it. So I would sneak a song in there that I felt I could use in the movie. So it's either songs I produced, some I licensed from old Cuban legends, like Benny Moré and stuff, and then my original score. So it was, the movie was an homage really to the Cuban music, so there was a lot of needle drops in it, and then I wrote the main themes and the transitional music in it, which I first wrote just on piano. In the cutting room, I had a keyboard, and I recorded to picture the solo piano, the cues. And once I had all the cues designed with solo piano, then I brought in an orchestrator and I said, I want a chamber orchestra here. I want to feature the cello. And then I don't write music, nor do I read music.
Right.
So I play by ear. But I had already designed the score. Some of the piano I replayed at Capitol acoustically because they were just solo piano pieces, and I wanted an acoustic answer, so I replayed it. And other stuff, I took the piano out and just used the piano template as where the orchestra would, where the hits would be. Right. So it was a very rewarding process for me, that, and I have a movie that I've written, which I want to do now and direct it. I want to almost write the score for. So
yeah, that's great. You have a collection of percussion instruments, yes?
Yes.
Yeah. How big is that these days?
Well, I have a lot of those little toys, but also I have at least like
Congas
30 conga drums and about maybe half a dozen bongos. And timbales,
pretty much
like 40.
Play every day if you can?
I play piano almost every day. I don't play percussion as much every day. But if you count my steering wheel, yes.
Some of the best work goes there.
Yeah, because it's really more about the exercise, because my the beating on it, it gets a little bit. But I do play piano. I try to play every day.
Yeah.
Like there's a piano. I'm shooting a movie now in Durango, and there's a piano in the hotel room. So when everybody leaves, in the hotel room in the restaurant. So like at 10 o'clock at night, I go down and the waiters, they give me a thumbs up. So that's after about 45 minutes.
Yeah. Turn up the lights and tell you to go home.
That one guy with the mop.
But he really liked it. There's so many films that I want to talk to you about, but I really want to talk about City Island. What a great film. I mean, if you all have seen it, if you haven't seen it, you need to go out and see it. Tell us a little bit about how you came to be, involved in that project. And
the writer Raymond DeFelita, who's the writer-director in the picture, is represented through my same agency, Paradigm, and my agent, Clifford Stevens, that I've been with him many, many years, said, I read the script, I think you're really going to like it. He wants you to play the part, and if you want, you can produce it with him. And I know what it is to produce a movie that's especially going to end up as an independent movie. It's very romantic to say, I'm the producer of the movie. But when you actually know what it takes to, and the ups and downs, and so I said, well, let me read it. So I read it, and I really enjoyed it, and I gave it to Dominique, my oldest daughter, because Daniela was away at Cal Arts, and she was in Boston. So I said, read the script, let me know what you think, because I really like the part, and they want me to act and produce. And she says to me, you got to play this part. This is a perfect part for you. It's a part. It's really not a part that people would really think of me as, So she recognized that they had elements that I could, that were really good for me, that she knew. Yeah. And then she said, if there's a chance, if you don't get a name, I'd like to audition for that other part as the pole dancer.
Yeah. Yeah, how'd that go, Dad?
And I said, I think we're trying to get a name for that. And so anyway, so I read the script. I loved it. I met Raymond, and we really got on with it. And I made some suggestions about the story, this Brando idea that I had about imitating Brando. And so we kind of made some changes, and then we went out with the script to all the studios passed.
Right.
But we had a great cast. The cast came together. I knew the cast would come together right away because the parts were great. And
you were instrumental in bringing some of those cast together.
I made those initial calls to Alan and to Juliana came in later. There was another actress involved prior to Juliana, which I had called also. I wanted Juliana first, but we had worked together on a movie, and everybody kind of said, you guys done a movie already. We should have a new face. And I go, yeah, but Juliana's great.
She's so good, yeah.
I said, no, but the other actress is great too. He goes, yes, but anyway. And then I eventually said to the director, it's your call. You make the call, because it's his call ultimately. But the other actress, let us down towards the end, and Juliana stepped in. Thank God. And but Emily, I had worked with on the Pink Panther, and she was my first choice, and then she wasn't available. We thought we were going to get the movie like that, so we went out to another actress, terrific actress. Then she became unavailable, and then we went back to Emily. And Alan is a friend, and we had worked together, and I sent him the script, and he said to me something that I treasure. He said, I usually don't do this kind of things, like doing like one day in a movie kind of thing, but I really want everybody to see you in this part. So if I can help out in any way, I want that to happen. So I really cherish that, And then we began, and then eventually we never got a name for that part. And Dominique went to audition for, I say this because this is important we talk about the impression in the, she went to audition for Entourage for Sheila Jaffe, who was our casting director on City Island. And she didn't get the part, but Sheila called Raymond and said, I found the girl. And he said, who? She said, who? He says, it's Andy's daughter. You got to read her right away. She's fantastic and this and that. And then she went in and auditioned with like 10 other actresses and called her back, and Raymond then read with Stephen Strait, and then eventually got the part. So.
And did a terrific job.
Yeah.
Great. Really great. Yeah.
So it's good to see that my theories
can play out.
In the sense, and it's true. That's the way it is. Because it's a very difficult profession. You have to be patient, but you just gotta. Every audition is an opportunity to blow a couple more people away.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not for this job. It's for the one after that or the one after that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, how long did it take to shoot City Island? And tell us a little bit about
27
the
days. 27 days. We prepped it in like 4 weeks. Shot in 27 days. The budget was about $6 million.
Yeah, it's just such a great movie. I mean, I laughed, and it speaks to you on so many levels.
I know. It's a very charming piece of material.
It really is.
And we had great actors, and we were there was no rehearsal. There was just like we basically we shot the rehearsals. People showed up from everywhere. We got together. We did one table read on Sunday before we started working on Monday. And I looked at Juliana across the table, and the first scene we played, and I went,
good.
Because we have played husband and wife before, so we kid that the next movie will be grandparents. So a lot of women I think actresses were a little trepidatious about playing the part, because they had an older daughter, and I think that's what kept it was a hard part to cast in that sense. Although I thought it was a terrific part. I think a lot of actresses were a little, if they had a 5-year-old, but having a 26-year-old, where does that date me? And it's all that kind of thing,
Right.
So it was not that easy part to cast in that sense. But Jules is an extraordinary actress. She's really genial.
And the chemistry between you all. I mean, it's just. I mean, we shot those scenes where we were the family dinner scenes the first day of work. Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and we sat around the table, and it was like, okay, here we go. Pass the potatoes. Shut up. Okay. Cut. We got it. Okay, thank you.
You so caught the family dynamic, He just.
It was well written.
They all love each other, but they're just going after it.
And it was very well written, but also Ray gave us freedom to play.
So he wasn't married to those words.
No, not at all, not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, the words we said them, but there's always say embellishments or exploration within the words that he was always encouraging about, and.
There was something, I think it was in the production notes or something, that you said that almost every actor has that moment where the first time they tell somebody that they're an actor, the person laughs at them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
It's such a
because it's true.
It's such a ludicrous, scenario. Unless you you come from, you grew up in an industry, and you understand my daughters would say to me, I want act. They said it when they were 5. It wasn't foreign, it's just part of the practical. That there's an industry, there's a potential of how to get work, or
Right.
But if you come from a different place where nobody's an actor from 100,000 miles,
Right. Right.
And you say to a buddy, or to your father, or to your sister, or to your banker, "No, I'm going to Hollywood. I want to be an actor." Hey, over here,
The actor.
Hollywood. So, from there on, all your friends are going, "Hey, Hollywood, come over here.
Right.
Come here, Marlon. Come here. Bring me a cup of coffee, Marlon." So you kind of keep it to yourself, you're on the journey to yourself, and until you do a play and your parents show up or your friends at the university, they see the poster on the wall and they go, "Hey, you doing this play over here?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah." "Hey, we're gonna come see you." I look in the back room and the whole gang they're going. You come on stage, you come on stage and you're in character and you look out and everyone's going like this. You're trying to play like, off in the cherry orchard. And in the back row's going. So it's all right. Anyway.
Well, it's a great film. It's in theaters here. Has it got a wide release across the country at this point? Or,
it started in 2 theaters, one here and one in New York. We fluctuate between I think we were like on 190 last week. We got up as high as like 280, and depending where it goes, it kind of keeps moving around. But we've been around since I don't know is it what?
March.
Yeah. Since March, and we're still out there, and the people seem to. I mean, we basically have 2 ads in the paper, one on Friday and one on Saturday. That's our effort. That's the spend. Listen, I'm very happy that Anchor Bay stepped up. Nobody wanted to buy the movie. We won the audience award at Tribeca. Had to show the movie 7 times. Got no bites.
Wow.
No bites. Now again, we had 7 independent movie studios went down the drain last year.
Yeah.
So the buyers are very limited. There's only 2 or 3 buyers out there right now, and we got fortunate that Anchor Bay stepped up and they love the movie. But it's a more conservative way. To get it out in the big multiplexes, you got to spend a lot of money because every week you got Robin Hood throwing at you, and to survive in that world is without a lot of money being spent. So there's only the alternative is just to kind of
trickle it out there.
Yeah, be the alternative and let the word of mouth. And now with the advent of the word of mouth these days is more like in the other days. You would in a day's process, if you like something, you might have told 5 people or 10 people. Right. Now you can tell thousands of people, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or blogging and stuff. So the word of mouth can really ignite a movie or kill a movie.
Right.
A lot of these big studio conceptual movies are petrified by the internet because if they have all this money invested in something and if it stinks, people know it right away.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
Because they're coming at you with a lot, and the people going, it's terrible. And then you have this investment, and then the response. In the old days, they can bait you into coming in.
Right.
And they go, "Oh, God, they got me," but it was like $50 million later in the box office.
Yeah.
How was the movie? Yeah. Piece of shit. But now, the screenings or whatever, I saw it. It's like the word gets out.
Yeah.
And even the reviews, people are reviewing the reviewers. Like critics. The critics' power is kind of diminishing in a way because. People you read a review and go, I read that review. That guy was asleep during that movie, and this is why.
Right.
So there's a little bit of a balance that way, but it can hurt you or kill you right away. Which, I'm all for it. I think if it helps the independent films get voice and get attention, then that's a great thing because I think the real voice, not to negate Hollywood because I think we make great movies.
Yeah.
I understand the concept of conceptual films and that large demographic. I'm all for that. But I would like to see Hollywood have, the independent branches of their studios and pay and support and pay more attention to the independent film, the character-driven film, the films of the 70s that now would be all independent movies.
Right.
Coming Home, Midnight Cowboy, Mean Streets, Taxi Driver, all those movies, they wouldn't
get made now.
They would never get made.
Right.
They would all they would get made, but they would be an independent movie. Yeah. It would not be a studio movie.
Right.
And the national, whatever, all those movies, So you're going, there should be a place for that, And it doesn't mean that, if I can make City Island for $6 million, right, and do, X amount of business with it, I can make City Island for Paramount for $6 million.
Right.
Doesn't have to cost 20 because it's with Paramount.
Right.
But support it. Go in
Right.
and say this is a quality thing. If you guys can make it for 6, we'll do it. And okay, we'll make it for 6. But
Yeah.
you have a distribution channel that you don't have to struggle out and get money from your brother and your dry cleaner and
Right.
and you know what I'm saying, the tax incentive and sell Bulgaria and because there was a Pole in the movie.
Right.
Sorry,
Keep coming back to that.
You're really big in Bulgaria now. So you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I just wish there would be make it a little bit easier for support the independent filmmaker. A little bit.
It's interesting, not to digress too far here, but yesterday there was a thing on PBS and they were talking just about the new model of Hollywood, which are these mega hits, and they spend $200 million on Robin Hood or whatever it is.
Sure.
But the goal is to make back, $500 million in merchandising, what have you. But they're saying that this may be the summer that proves that rule wrong. That you can spend $200 million, but there's no guarantee if you can't get that domestic release in place to feed the rest of the machine, it's not going to really pay off. So now, instead of taking chances on, say, 10 or 20 independent films and maybe losing money on half of them, you're taking the chance on this one big one and you're never going to get the money back. And so they're re-examining it. So I hope you're right. I hope they start paying attention.
I think it's, it's like everything. It's like business cycles. It's a pendulum. You go too far one end, you got to come back to it.
Yeah.
The distribution patterns changed in the early 80s maybe. I think it was Superman that was the first one that decided to open up and also open up like in 2,000 theaters, which was like never the case in any movie. The Godfather, any movie always started small and
targeted out.
They'd be in the theater for 8 months, and they just kept moving around this, and then they open here and then they open there and the studio would end and the people. In the old days, the people would go to the cities and promote it and come back.
Yeah.
So once they got suckered into, hey, if we open it up in 2,000 theaters on Friday, then that changed the shape of what kind of movie you had to make to feed that demographic. But it's got to swing. It can't keep going in one direction because at some point it's like the business cycle goes to like a success, peak, falling off in the dirt. So if it starts going like this, then it's going to have to swing
something
back.
else to rise.
It's got to come back to this. And I think there's, to me, it's not so complicated. I think within the studio system, if they have the right people and paying attention, that they can review a movie like City Island when they get the material. And the same reason why all these wonderful actors who have very good taste go to look at a piece of material and go, I want to be in it. And I'm willing to work in it for a portion of what you would pay me because I understand and it is, but it still can be a $6 or $7 million studio movie.
Yeah.
And I think that investment from a studio could be a good piece of business for them. Because that movie, you don't have to spend $50 million to advertise it.
Right.
So that movie can be profitable. The question is that studio interested in a $10 million profit as opposed to $100 million?
And that is exactly
but if you make
that scale.
But if you make 10 of those, right?
Yeah.
Which cost you, 6 times 10 is $60 million, right?
Yep.
And those grossed each 10 as a profit.
Yeah. What's the difference?
It doesn't have to be a big division. I think Fox Searchlight is a good example of a very successful model that's been very successful for them.
Yep.
And sometimes you'll make the 6, and that 6 will make that movie will make $160 million.
Yeah, exactly.
In business.
Yeah.
And it surprises me that the studios are not in that business. That some are, but not in general. Everyone has really a smart and aggressive independent arm, and I'm hoping it'll swing back to that.
Yeah, me too. I don't want to see, movies about silly putty and slinkies and, it's like.
Although Toy Story is probably
that's
one of the best
okay.
movies you'll ever see.
That's a great, but I just,
why are those
if they
movies?
just, looking for the brand that they can then sell out there. It's like,
Listen,
come on,
I think one of the beautiful things about the Pixar movies and why they're so successful, other than the technology, is the writing.
Absolutely.
The writing in those movies
Very
is spectacular.
smart.
Very spectacular. And that's what it is.
Yeah. Well, let's take some of the audience questions here. Otherwise, they're going to attack me on the way out. So, Alexi Durack asks, the part or role that you played in Black Rain brought your name to the forefront. Could you talk about how you got that role? That was with Ridley Scott, right?
Yeah, that was because I had been done the Untouchables, and Ned Tannen, who was working at the time at Paramount, and Frank Sr., Mancuso Sr., wanted me to play that part. So it was just a question of meeting Michael. And we went over there and met him, and we might have read or not with him and Ridley in New York, and they gave me the part. You know, I flew to New York to meet him, and Michael was a joy. I mean, to this day, he's a friend, and you never. If there's anybody who wanted the trenches with you, I guarantee you, it's Michael Douglas. You know, he's incredible. He's an incredible partner. He's a real pro, and he's a great producer, very smart, very generous, and I learned a lot from him.
What's it like working with Ridley Scott?
Again, you know, I learned so much from him as a director, you know, visually, you know, what he was doing with the movie. Because again, I was already beginning my interest, you know, I had that interest. And I would watch him set up these shots and use these long lenses and how he compressed the frame and how he designed a frame in these long, you know, with these lenses, you know. And he was so particular about it. He would look down this gauntlet of his lens and move things that were a block away. And he'd say, down further. And he would move a little thing, and when you saw, he's a painter, you know,
Got
so
it all stacked up.
yeah, and it was so beautiful to watch him, you know, work, you know, and how he designed sequences, and there was always an ongoing issue about how I was going to get killed, from the way it was written to what Ridley wanted to do and to what eventually happened. You know, first he wanted to kill me on a train and run my head over, but with a train and one of those subways, and there was a whole different thing, and then through, you know, my involvement with him and talking about in the motorcycle thing with Michael, I was involved in that decision about using the cape and, you know, doing the whole thing with the Toreador thing. And he liked that idea, and then eventually turned into, you know, the taking of the cape away and all that. So he was very supportive. I remember there was a moment in the movie, in the script, where I had to sing a song in the bar with Michael and the Japanese actor, Ken Takakura. And the song that was scripted was "You Lost That Loving Feeling," you know, which is a very lamentable, you know, slow. And I said, Ridley, if I sing "You Lost That Loving Feeling," you're gonna lose this fucking movie. The audience is gonna go, yeah, excuse me. You know, and I said, you know, we got to do something more up tempo, and I suggested, and I think, and he says, what do you like? And I said, I think we should do this Ray Charles song, but basically because I think that I need to bring up, it's not about me singing it in this karaoke bar, but I think for story-wise, it's important to bring Ken Takakura up, who's a guy who's very, very reserved, never smiled in a movie. As an actor, he's never smiled in a movie. He's known as a very, you know, and in this movie, if I can bring him up, and the whole thing is about my relationship with him, is like, loosen up, Ken-san, you know. And if I could bring him up and get him to do Ray Charles with me, and I'll put the sunglasses on him and get him to smile, when I die, then he's gone through a catharsis as a human being, you know? And he went,
I like that, yeah.
That's his thing.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. And so he said, good. He says, work it out, and I'll come. And me and Ken and the pianist went to a rehearsal studio in the Valley, because we were shooting the club in Paramount when we came back from Japan. And I worked it out with him, and he came to the rehearsal studio and goes, show it to me. And we did that whole bit of me bringing him up and doing the thing. And I really said, cool, let's shoot it. And that's what he shot. So he was very open in that sense. I love working with him. I haven't worked with him since, but he's been a good friend. He's always written me notes. He wrote me a beautiful note when he saw The Lost City about how much he enjoyed the movie. And I learned a tremendous amount from Ridley. I love him, and I learned a tremendous amount from him as an aspiring director. You know, because he is as good a shooter. Him and Tony are as good as shooters that exist in films, I think. You know.
Do you see him more as, you know, sort of a technician, or does he have his moments really as being an actor's director? Or
well, he has impeccable taste, you know.
That's what it is.
He's an artist. He has impeccable taste.
Yeah.
So when he chooses an actor, he already knows. He says, and Hal was very much like this. He goes, I got my guy. I don't have to worry about him no more.
Right.
And he's there. You know, he's like giving you the freedom. He doesn't have to worry about you, because you know he has to. That you're going to come with the goods. You know, I was working with a young actor now who's terrific, named Oscar Isaac, who played Prince John in his Robin Hood movie. And Oscar was saying to me that you know, nobody wanted him to play his part, but really fought for him. And I know why he fought for him, because he's a wonderful actor. You know,
right.
So.
And he saw it.
He saw it, yeah. So I think that's the nature of it. I mean, where Francis is more like the actor, come on, talk. Ridley is like, you know, it's a kind of a design-oriented approach to it. but he's a very bright man.
Sure.
And he talks to you about the nature of character and relationships and culture and what it means and all that. But in terms of the work, he knows you're going to come bring the goods, you know.
Right.
That's the way I would approach it. And he's expecting it because he knows that's what you're there to do.
Cool. Barry Ford asks, tell us about the complication of directing and acting in the same project, like in The Lost City.
Where's Barry? Oh, hi, Barry. It's very easy. You do a take and then you say, oh, you're so good.
There you go, huh?
No, you live with, as a director, I guess I don't know. I could just tell you how you fall in love with a story. You have a certain thing in your head about it, how to tell this tale and all that. So as an actor in the piece, I'm not really I've been able to, I guess, because of my interest in filmmaking and watching so much dailies and fascinated with the whole concept of how a movie comes together and, from the execution to the dailies and how that's put together, that over the years I've developed like a very sort of like analytical eye, even watching myself. I'm not an actor who goes, oh, because when I'm looking, I kind of look at it's like a character to me, and I'm looking, I'm going, well, this will work. That's going to work pretty good. It's like a detached scenario where I feel that I'm kind of looking outside of myself. So in the case of The Lost City, because we shot the movie, in a short period of time, we had playback, but I'm trying to get to the essence of it. Once I was in a scene as an actor, and I'm working with another actor and my cinematographer, and we, and I'm in the scene. We're playing, and you kind of know whether when you're in it, if you're in it,
yeah.
And then if I felt like I wanted to check about a take, I would not take myself out to look at playback. Maybe I check with the cinematographer who I trust and go, how's that feel? And he goes, "Ooh, very powerful." and then I go, okay, let's go again one more time. And then I play, and you sense when the scene's working, you have the inner sort of third eye going, and like I said, I'm good. Or if I'm doing with another actor, I might, be talking to him off camera or whatever. But once the scene is done, when I feel like we've got the juice, I'll step out for a moment and I go to the monitor and I say, let me see take 3.
Yeah.
And I go, okay, let me see the master. Okay, let's go. We got it. I mean, before, like the master, I wouldn't move on without checking at least a take that I felt was working right. Let me see if that worked. And if I saw it, I had it, I just move on. But I wouldn't go back after every take, and it interrupts. Once you set the composition, you know where you're at. Unless it's a very complicated shot that you're moving the camera around, then you go back take after take to see what needs to be adjusted. But if it's an over, or if it's pretty locked off, then once you kind of design and what it is and the cinematographer is in control, then it's time for you to be in with the actors. And the camera has a little bit of a monitor. So if I'm acting in the scene, I'm off camera and I can always refer to the composition for a moment. But if I'm not acting, I'm always by the camera. I'm never at the monitor. I stand where he's standing and I just look at composition. I don't look at performance during a monitor. I look at the composition for a moment, make sure the framing is something that we talked about. And then I watch the actor, And then once I feel like we've done the exploration, I'll go back to the playback and maybe take the actor and say, let's watch take 4, watch this. Look what you did. And then, kind of go in and, hey, that's good, right? Okay, let's go, let's move on. So it's kind of like that kind of process,
So when you're not in the scene, you like to watch the live performance.
I'm next to the camera.
Yeah.
I try to stay out of the actor's eye line, but
you want to.
I tuck myself in, and I want to see what he's doing.
Yeah. But you don't want to see it through the lens at that point.
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
No. The lens has,
Yeah.
Because I want to see what's going on. Yeah, no, and it has I'll see it through the lens, the playback if I want to and stuff like that. But the lens, when you're watching, has a
the shutter. Yeah, right. Okay. Let's see here. Christopher Gallego asks, Mr. Garcia, what steps do you advise a young filmmaker to make in order to start his own production company and make his own films? Specifically, when you don't have many industry connections, What do you do? Film festivals, short films, webisodes? Can you talk about experiences on running your own company?
Well, my company is just for my own movies. I don't have a big thing where I'm really just developing the things that I'm hands-on about. So
Kind of sounds like that's what Chris is looking for too. Is that right, Chris? Yeah.
Say Chris.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
As Francis once said, you make a movie, you begin, and then the money will come because you began. He doesn't wait for the money; he just begins.
That primes the pump. Huh?
Yeah, somehow that's a kind of like a thing that happens. But I think today, with the advent of these kind of cameras, that you can make a movie and put it together in Final Cut Pro and finish a movie and get your work shown in festivals. And I think you start at whatever budget you have and tell the tale and go through the exercise of making the movie, because ultimately it's about the content, And Francis was the one early on. He told me that a young kid with a home camcorder was going to revolutionize them. He told me that in 1990. He said, a kid's going to come around with a little camera like this, and he's going to revolutionize the industry. Yeah. And he's always been a big proponent of the digital media, and that brings the cost down. I mean, you can.
Absolutely.
Mel Gibson, who just left Mexico, he told me he was going to Mexico because I'm shooting a movie there, and he said, I'm going to Mexico. I'm shooting a whole movie on a Canon still camera.
Right. Oh, no kidding.
5D Mark II.
Yeah, the 5D. That's a 5D Canon. Wow. It looks like a still camera, but it shoots high definition
video.
10-minute, 12-minute takes. You change the card, and it's a hard drive. You change the chip, and you get another 12 minutes.
Wow.
And he shot the whole movie because it was in a prison with 4 or 5 of those cameras. The camera is $2,500 or $4,000, $3,000 camera.
Wow.
You buy that camera or a little digital, HD Panasonic or something. Final Cut Pro and a couple lav mics and maybe a boom, and you're done. That's all you need. You don't need anything else. You don't need lights. You don't need anything.
Right.
Nature.
Right. Absolutely.
Available light. I mean, some of the greatest cinematographers in the world.
I was going to say,
all they use is available light.
Yeah.
Go see a movie now that's at the Lemley called Breathless. Raoul Cotard, the great cinematographer, shot in black and white, all available light. In those days, the ASA was the fastest was 100.
Wow.
So, and they were shooting available light, black and white at night with bulbs.
Yeah.
And you're going, well, now we have, you can shoot how fast, the lenses are so fast.
Yeah.
You don't need any lights to shoot a movie.
Yeah.
You just need to know where your lights, how you're staging something and where your light sources are, and use practical light and just go out and shoot it.
Do you think that there may be a market vis-a-vis the internet for films? I mean,
yes.
More of the feature length?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think in the very near future, there's going to be a way where you can make a movie and advertise it on the internet and say, you can watch my movie for $2.50 or $5 or...
Are we going to lose something in that? I mean, not having that collective experience of people watching in the theater, or...
I think the theater will always be there, but there'll be an avenue for the independent filmmaker
to make films.
And obviously many people now have theaters in their homes.
Yeah.
But it challenges the system,
Yeah, it does.
You know what I mean? It's like if you don't want that to happen, then you better make those movies yourself and put them in the theater.
Right.
I mean, I think you can't get around it. You're not going to stop the internet.
Yeah.
You just have to design a situation where you can manage it, and there's a system and monetize it, and the actors, screen actors can get residuals from it and all that stuff. We talk about it and we fight for. Yeah. But you ain't going to stop it. The internet is a very powerful engine, and there's no stopping it. Look at YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, anything in the world you want to see, it's on YouTube.
Yeah. That just made me think. Do you remember the job that earned you your SAG card?
It was a commercial.
It was.
Yeah.
You did commercial.
I did some commercial for Gillette shaving cream or something.
Is that right?
Gillette blade break. One of those commercials, where you're looking in the mirror. And
God. And they pay pretty well too. I mean, so
it was terrible. But
it got you your SAG card.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. Mike Ma asks, I have a twofold question for you. How early on in the development of the character do you become aware of the way the character moves, and what do you do in preparation for that? There's several questions like this, and I think they just want you to talk a bit about your process. How do you approach a role? You know, do you read and read and read? Do you put it up on its feet? Do you improvise it? What's
Well, you know, unfortunately in film, there's very little rehearsal. So all you have to do a lot of stuff prior to getting there. But there's never any. Basically, there's never any rehearsal. The rehearsal is a blocking rehearsal or a little bit of exploration right before you shoot the scene, if any.
Right.
So you have to be ready to have an understanding of what you want to do, and there's a whole process with film, and over the years, I think you also learn not to trust that there is a process and not press the process. That even though the film, someone says action, the film is running, be careful not to fall into the trap that you got to do something.
Right.
You know? Because the film's running and I got to act now, you know.
Scene doesn't start until it starts. Right?
Yeah, or, you know, because then you get caught acting a little bit too much and then you kind of look at it and you go, ugh. So it's a whole comfort thing that it's a whole different medium, though, the film medium, that you learn. So it's something you learn as you do it, and you get a sense of how to kind of live inside of it. But for me, obviously, my training is such where I've always been trained to personalize the characters as deeply as possible, and find the parallels in my own personal life that can mirror the things the character might feel passionate about or painful of or embarrassed by. We as human beings have all that inside of us.
Right.
So the things I try to do is to personalize the work. That's one of the processes. But then there's also things of, you know, work like what does he look like? You know, what is his posture? What is, you know, how does he dress?
Right.
You know, is there a particular walk? Is there a voice? Is there a dialect? Those are also part of the thing. But if you look at those as sort of physical characterizations or external characterizations, the internal ones have to do, to me, with being as deeply personal.
That's sort of the anchor of the work for you?
Yeah, for me, you know. That's the way I was trained. And
Yeah.
because you're going to have to ask, the character and the story is going to ask you to touch on emotional parts of the character that are, that you have two choices. One is you act them, and the other one is you reveal them, you know. Wow. So you have to, depending on your style or where you want to go with it, you know, I always try to search for that sense of truth in the work, you know. And sometimes it's more available to you, sometimes it's more difficult, and it's like a volume of key, you know, it's like a mixing board. And for some characters, you're using these volumes more and you're bringing down these over here, or you're lifting those 4 and you're bringing these 2 down, because they're more applicable, you know. Not to say that all characters have the opportunity to have all of them, but they might not be more magnified. If it's a character that has more angst, has more of a chip on his shoulder, he's a darker character, or is it one that's, you know, he's a stoner, you know, whatever it is. But you know, you got to find that, you know, that sense of where those volumes are, and make it personal. So the things that are happening in the movie are personal to you.
If I'm hearing you correct, you're not necessarily putting a value judgment on the choice of acting versus revealing. It's just
it's just their training. You know, I think it's just the way you've been trained as an actor. I guess there would be some actors who would say, you know, I'll act sad, as opposed to I'm going to leave myself open to be affected by something and share something with you that's very personal to me. That's sad to me, or painful, or embarrassing, or. So, you know, since I was trained that way, and that's, I always try to look for the sense of truth in the work that way.
It's a really beautiful part of again, City Island. You know, the exchange of the secrets between you and what was her name in the Molly.
And Molly, yeah.
You know, very sweet. And you know, again, I don't think there's an actor out there that can't relate to, you know, that type of exercise or that type of exploration.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was such a wonderful way to integrate.
Yeah, it was beautifully designed, and actually I did a whole, which it's only alluded to in the movie because we ended up cutting it from the film. But I actually do my whole monologue, which is basically telling the whole story of the movie again.
Right. Yeah.
And it was very, very emotional. But at that point in the movie, it was really a structural misplacement of that, because at that point in the movie we had seen the character go through all that,
Right.
and here I was in this like 4-minute monologue of retelling the whole story and crying in front of the class and doing all that, but it was like, okay, it was kind of like the movie was over, you know. So it was, painful to lose as an actor, but probably the appropriate thing for the movie to leave it in the special features.
There you go. There you go.
So it'll be there for
More
people
stuff
can
on the
see
DVD,
it.
huh? Yeah, when it comes out there. Robin Simone says your charitable contributions to help Haiti and other organizations are well noted. You're an incredible musician. How will music play a part in any of your upcoming film projects? Is it always kind of a consideration for you? I mean,
I approach my work like a musician, basically. That's, I guess, it goes like that. Once I prepare, and done all what I feel is, I come in is like, to me, it's and it also has to do with my training on the improvisation. I look at the movie as an improvisation on the theme,
Yeah.
And I prepare the theme and I practice and I get myself ready to have this extended improvisation. That doesn't mean I don't learn the lines or anything,
Right.
but to me, I want every scene to feel like it's just happening and we're doing it, freshly, and not bring judgment into it and try to be free and instinctual and let the character take over and that's when I'm having most fun, when I feel like we're playing, and we're listening to each other. It's like jazz,
Yeah.
There's a thematic, and you might have rehearsed the break, the in, but at some point you're gonna go ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, solo.
Yeah, right.
You gotta go. Oh,
Okay, yeah. Here we go.
Here we go.
Yeah.
So I want to prepare myself to be able to solo anytime I need to, but be playing with my fellow actor and go. Go.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna keep some time for you. And then when you're done, I'm gonna take over and you're gonna, we're gonna play.
Yeah.
There's a sense of play in the work, and that's why I said the most important work is done off camera, because the more I can feed you, the more I can surprise you, the more I can keep you listening to me as an off-camera supporter, the better your performance.
Yeah.
And the more you can do that for me, I text, as Sanford Meisner says, take your performance off of your other guy. Don't give a performance, take it off of the other guy.
Yeah.
So, and that's very important because that's the way life is. You're listening to me now. You're not. Hopefully, you're not saying I'm gonna make believe like I'm listening because right. I'm acting like I'm listening because I really want to be home somewhere else or whatever. So, but you know what I mean. So you're in the moment with me, and that's what people like the old timers always say. In acting is reacting. It's about listening, and it's simplified to that point. And when you're out of your own head and you're listening, you're available to be affected.
Yeah.
Then something is said that you go, oh, when you're trying too hard to be. When you try so hard to be affected, you're really blocking yourself.
Right.
So relaxation and giving it up is like what Alan was saying about, I don't want to think about anything, I just want to step into it because he's thought about it already too much,
Yeah.
Now he just wants to discover it within it, and things will happen that'll be processed like in human nature very quickly. And anyway.
Do you ever like to use music on the set? Some people like to just kind of listen to music.
I sometimes sing on the set. I loosen up,
Yeah.
but or listen to a piece of music that could get you in an emotional space. All that is good, Absolutely, all that is valuable. It's like sense memory or affective memory. A piece of song could take you to a certain place emotionally that could get you in in the right space to explore a scene.
Yeah.
That's
sometimes
that's
tool.
and it's a tool of relaxation. Whistle while you work, kind of thing. So that's very effective. And like I said, someone said musically that I intend to write the music for this new movie that I'm trying to raise money for. About Hemingway, and so I'm gonna, I'm developing music for that already, and themes on my own. So
yeah. Could you talk a little bit about some of the actors that you admire and folks that over your career you've kind of looked at and went, that's the kind of work I want to do?
Well, I've been able to work with with people that I found were that I was incredibly inspired by. From Sean Connery as a young man to James Coburn. To Al Pacino, to Robert De Niro, to Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah.
these were the people in the 70s that were doing the kind of work that I wanted to do as an actor. And so I've been able, Jeff Bridges, you know, I was able to you know, to share that experience with them, and all other great actors that are not as famous, you know, that were very inspirational, you know. But then there's people I've never worked with that were older generation people that I really dig, like Peter Sellers and Jacques Tati, and Buster Keaton. You know, the comedians. I'm a big fan of that genre. So.
You know, tough question to ask, but you know, everybody would like advice and what have you, and I suppose maybe the best way to ask it is, what do you think really makes a good actor? What is it that makes a good actor?
Well, I think that you have God gives you a gift. Certain people are gifted in different way for different things. As John Wooden said, you know, God gave you a gift. What you do with that gift is going to be up to you. You know, if you want it to flourish and you want to get good at it, then you have to pay attention to it and prepare yourself. And I mean, the great John Wooden, who's passed away recently, had a very beautiful philosophy. You know, and so I think God gave me a sensibility for what I'm doing, and when I include music in that, I include something artistic, something, you know, whether it be film and music, and that's something He gave me as a gift, and it was up to me to do what I'm doing with it. You know, it's not He said I already did my part. That's this little seed He gave me, and it's and that I give it up to Him, and then it's up to what you're gonna do with it. You know, and you have to prepare it. You got to study it. You got to be diligent about it. You got to be focused about it. You got to be healthy about it, and you have to continue your exploration and your inspiration that you get from doing it, and practice and thinking about it rewards you with getting better at it. And the more you do it, and the more you challenge yourself, and the more you practice it, and the better you get at it. You know, and it's as simple as that. You know. It's a craft that when it's used in an inspirational way becomes, I think, art.
Yes.
You know, but the inspiration, you know, the right things have to come together before I think it's elevated to like art, you know. Other than that, it's, you know, it's craft.
Yeah.
And so you know, like I said, you know, that's the way I see it, you know, that why I was interested in it, why I was interested in films, why I have responded to film and music that way and the way I did, that's sort of like my thing. You know, that's what I was juiced about in my life from the very early age. So who gave me that juice, you know? So a lot of it has to do with that, you know, sense of honoring the gift that He's given you, you know, by doing it, as giving you your best shot, you know.
Well, the gifts that you've been given have been given back to us tenfold, and we are all so appreciative of it. Thanks for all of your work and continued success, and thank you so much for being here.